First, welcome to all, but especially those who are here for the first time. And there are quite a few people here for the first time, and that's exciting. It's hard for me to believe that this is the 5th luncheon and exhibit of materials for the Inland Children's Chorus collection. And mark your calendar, we plan at least one more luncheon and exhibit here next year at MCL on the last Saturday of April. That's April 25th, 2015, if you're looking ahead. Please spread the word and encourage family, friends, grandkids, and anyone interested in music and history to come. I'm pleased to report that the number of visits to inlandchorus.com has increased substantially this year. And that's from actual visitors too, not just Google robots, for those of you who understand the web. So special thanks to those of you who visited and donated materials, advice, encouragement for the website. That means more than you can imagine. As in the past, we'll take a group photo of former members after our speakers' comments. Please stay, if at all possible, for that photo. And as you leave, please return your name badge so we know you were here, and complete the yellow sheet with any changes, such as especially email address changes and other changes, so we can keep you up to date. We still, I believe, have a few music CDs available. Is that right, Janice? Janice, do we have a few CDs still available? Okay, we have CDs available for a small donation to help with the website and the materials. Most of the songs on this CD are new and include 2 previously unknown and never released recordings, including a terrific version of Gershwin's Summertime. You'll also see that we've distributed a list of songs that include solos. Please take that sheet with you, listen to the songs, and then let me know if you can identify or confirm any of the solos. When I get enough responses, I'll put a comment on the forum page with what I learned. These great soloists deserve recognition. And it'll be fun listening to the songs anyways. I should warn you, by the way, that Tony will give you an opportunity in a few minutes to make some comments about your chorus experience. And if you make a comment, and I hope you do, or even if you don't, I plead with you to consider writing a comment later for the website forum. Finally, if you have donated items today, please help me. Please make sure your name is with your donation. I want to make sure that everyone is credited. So, I'm pleased to introduce our speaker, who many of you have met, Tony Van Boss. Tony is Preservation Manager for Wright State University Special Collections and Archives. Tony works directly with the Inland Children's Chorus Collection, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank once again Tony, Dawn Dewey, and their colleagues at Wright State for supporting and preserving the Inland Children's Chorus Collection. I can tell you something special that I've learned about Tony. She's patient, very patient. She's never complained once when I've sent her additions or even editorial suggestions for the official library document. Tony has learned that it's very difficult for me not to tinker. So thank you, Tony, and thanks for taking time for your busy week to spend it with us today.
Thank you, Jerry. I am delighted to be here today with you to share a little bit about special collections and archives within the libraries at Wright State University and give you a sense of how the original materials in the Inland Children's Chorus collection are being cared for. Before I start, I do want to thank all of you who have contributed materials to the collection, and I also want to thank Jerry Allred for initiating the cooperative relationship between the alumni of Inland Children's Chorus and the archives. And I'd also like to thank Janice Allred for all her dedicated work in bringing the project forward. Last year at this luncheon, I had the pleasure of meeting several people before I got up to talk. And the stories and the memories I got to hear were wonderful. So much so that I wanted everybody to hear them. And I opened up the floor with the microphone for anyone who had memories to share them. For me, these stories are a type of oral history, and they make viewing the original materials even more meaningful. Because not all of you were necessarily in the chorus during the same years, I think it is also interesting to hear what it was like to be in the chorus at different times, both similarities and differences. So this year, I hope you will indulge me and allow me once again to open the floor up to you to share your memories of being in the chorus. You are welcome to walk up here, and I really hope that you will do this. It's also going to be on videotape, so it really will be an oral history. Please don't be shy. Is there anyone who would like to break the ice and come up first?
Want me to get the microphone? Yeah, please, somebody come up and be brave.
Behind you. There you go. My wife and I had the privilege of having dinner with Jerry and his wife Janice last night. And what I thought would take about an hour and a half, we were there 3.5 hours talking about the chorus. I think Jerry did most of the talking, but we enjoyed it very much. Very. I mean, he told us about how he got to all this stuff. Anyway, I related a story to Jerry, and he asked me to repeat it. It may choke me up a little bit, so bear with me. You know, Dick Westbrook, somebody said on the internet that he was a marvelous teacher, and that he ran a very tight ship, but he respected all of us kids. We respected him very much, but I remember that he had 2 real rules. Now he probably had more than that, but one of his biggest rule was that binder, you could not snap that binder, okay? And occasionally some new kid would snap the binder, and he would reprimand him, and the poor child would get a month or 2 off, and he'd miss the concert. But he just explained that just couldn't happen while that was going on. And Jerry and I said that we both had dreams. We both had nightmares, and in our nightmares we were slowly opening it, and then we were slowly closing it, and then all of a sudden it would go snap, and we were out of there. And if you were in the choir for very long, a year or more, I mean, that was the end of your career in there. So anyway, another thing I wanted to say about the rules is that he had a rule that we used to have auditions. I know all of you didn't do that, some of your earlier members, but we had to audition before concerts because we had far more people in there than those who could get on the stage. So after the auditions, and he got the 106 people, 100 people plus 6 alternates, we would start just having rehearsals. Originally, the altos and the basses would meet on Tuesday, sopranos on Thursday, and we'd all come together on Saturday. But once that concert group got together, it was Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Then it was Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And about a week or so before the concert, it was Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. It was Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a couple times on Sunday. So, you know, he was a taskmaster, but he was very, very fair. We all loved him. But one day, the rule was that once you got that in that concert group, you weren't allowed to miss more than 3 practices. If you missed more than 3 practices, I don't know if any of you remember that an understudy would take your place. You were going to now be the understudy. So one year, right around Easter time, a spring concert, I was very, very ill. And I was ill for more than a week, and my sister was in there with me, and she went and told Dick that, I don't disrespectfully call him Dick, but that I couldn't make it because I was so ill, and it's probably the illest I've been in my life. And because I was so ill, I think I built up such an immunity. I've never been sick since, but I was very, very ill, and I missed practice for about 7 or 8 days. And finally I returned to practice, and I couldn't even hear out of one ear when I went back. And Dick always took attendance. He would sit there and he would, at the podium like this, he never looked up. You know, he'd say the word, and some child would, you know, would say here, or they'd get some smart aleck remark or something like that. And he accepted that, he didn't care as long as you were there. So it came to me, and he said, Larry Brun. And I said, here. And he looked up and he said, welcome back, Larry. That was after I missed 7 or 8 practices. So he never took me out. I was in the concert, and it was one of his own rules that he broke for me. Something I'll never forget. So, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Would anybody else like to follow that up? I saw a lot of nods and laughs. I know you remember.
Thank you. Sharon Kelly. At the time I was in the choir, now it's Sharon Kelly Raw. But one of the things I remember so much about Mr. Westbrook was his insistence that we all smile when we sing. Do you remember that? He would stop the song if he could see somebody who wasn't smiling. And his reason was, you can't sing flat if you're smiling. Remember that? Yeah. And to this day, I always smile when I sing. And when I see a group of people singing and they're not smiling, it bothers me. They're not doing it right. So that was a good lesson to learn.
I'm Barbara Wensler, and I wanted to talk about with my brother. He was the first soprano, and of course the boys were always announced first. And when he would come to Tony Wensler, he would look at me and he'd say, "Where's your brother?" I said, "Well, he came on the bus with me, Mr. Westbrook. I don't know where he went. Maybe he was upstairs somewhere." But I'll never forget that. And then, of course, my sister, Mary, married John D. O'Brien's grandson. So I've encouraged her so many times to come to this luncheon. And I know she's got a lot of memorabilia, but she just can't give it up yet. But one of these days, I'll get her here. I'll get her here. Thanks.
I guess I'm the oldest guy here. I'm Tom Conair, and I was 6 months away from being a charter member. Oh, I'm sorry, Phyllis. You're a charter member, though, aren't you? One thing that Sharon touched on was about smiling, and so often Dick would, during the concert, he would go like this to make sure that your teeth were showing when you were smiling. Like I say, I was within 6 months of being a charter member. My 4 older brothers were all charter members, and we happened to live in St. Mary's Parish, and when the program first started, Dick was living with his parents on Xenia Avenue, right next to Zimmer's dry cleaning and alteration place. And so we would walk over and get a ride with Dick to practice. And that was before when he was courting Mary Lou's mother. So we would oftentimes on the way home stop by Squirrel Road and then go on back to Xenia Avenue from there. Some of the other things, I sang in the Inland Children's Chorus. I sang for Dick at Sacred Heart when I was in Latin school there, and I sang in the Westbrook Singing Boys, which was I felt the germinal form of what became the Inland Children's Chorus. It was an all-boys choir. We met at the Loretto and practiced there. We sang at various venues, but the most remarkable venue was at Normandy Farms for Dick Grant when he was president and CEO of General Motors. And we would go there on Christmas Eve and sing even some German songs, the carols that for the Grant family while they were having their dinner. And came to find out, Jerry and I put this together, that Dick Grant was a very good friend of Wally Whittaker. And of course, I feel that Dick Grant put the idea in Wally Whittaker's mind that they should have an inland children's course. And one of the things, in Christmas of 41, I think that was, it was right out after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, that we were on a nationwide hookup through WLW, and we sang a concert on the stage at Art Institute, and we were going into the second half of the program, and my kid brother came on the stage and had the hiccups, and Dick just about exploded and said, "Get off the stage." So Tim had to turn around and go back off, and he wasn't able to be in the second half of the program. Another time, at intermission, we were singing at the Masonic Temple, and I was prone to nosebleeds back then for some reason, and I happened to sneeze during intermission, and I started with a nosebleed. And we always had a nurse from inland that was there, and so she took me and we went into one of the hallways where there was a lounge, and so she told me to lie down and put a cold compress on my nose, and it was right outside the girls' dressing room. And when they started coming back on or out of the room for the second half of the program, they oohed and awed about, "Oh, it's Tom!" And so I always remember that part of it. But it was, I only had to write lines once, and I can't remember whether I talked when I wasn't supposed to be talking or what. But, you know, it was a great experience. It was really, if you didn't have any directions when you got into the choir, why you certainly learned that you had to behave yourself and respond when you were asked to respond. Back then, they also, every year, gave scholarships for private lessons for Dick, and they had auditions for that. And I remember one year, my brother, who was a soloist at a couple of times, I beat him out in the competition, and I felt really good about that, because I didn't have what I would call a remarkable voice at all. And I'll let you go with that.
Are there any others who would like to share? All right, well. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, great. Wonderful.
You're making me do this again. I will say, other than the visiting baby, I am the youngest person in this room. I've even got my friend and cohort over there, B. We were just talking, I think one of the memories Joyce and I talked as you know, we grew up from the time we were 8 years old, and we were members of the last chorus group. But one of the songs we remember singing was the Echo song. I believe it was only for the girls to sing, and Joyce and I were altos, but we were chosen to sing the second soprano echo part, which was, you know, pretty impressive and put a lot of pressure on you. And but I do remember Joe Geiger was our director, and at the conclusion of the song, and Joe being very stoic, like I'm sure Mr. Westbrook was too, you didn't get much reaction out of Joe performing unless you were misbehaving or something and you got a very stern look. But at the conclusion of the Echo song, I remember Mr. Geiger looking up at Joyce and I, because we were side by side, and giving us a smile and a wink, you know, that we had nailed our performance. And I still remember the, you know, feeling of being so proud, not only at that time, but, you know, of our whole time in the chorus.
Anyone else? That's great. Thank you so much. It is important to keep sharing the memories. If you get a chance, please do type them in on the forum pages on inlandchorus.com website. I print those pages out at least once a year to add to the collection, and they are also preserved in digital form, and it's an important part of preserving the history of the chorus. So I'm going to
Would you like to pass? Okay, sure. You want to pass these out?
Let me explain how the archives fits in with inlandchorus.com website. The collection of original Inland Children's Chorus materials was established at Wright State in 2010 by Jerry Allred on behalf of the former members of the chorus who donated their materials. The materials are first collected by Jerry from former members, all of you, and Jerry then digitizes the materials and makes them available for viewing and listening on the inlandchorus.com website. If donations come directly to the archives, which has happened, we hold on to them until Jerry visits, and then we give them to him to digitize, and Jerry then brings them back to the archives to include in the archival collection. The luncheon is a great opportunity to give you more information about the archives and the type of collections we house, what we do, and how to visit and experience it all firsthand. I show this slide of a group of doing research in the reading room to dispel that stereotype that archives are dark, secret, dusty old places where collections rarely move from the position on the shelf. That is exactly opposite of what archives strive to do. The archives at Wright State is a vibrant place. Our commission is to collect, preserve, and provide access to primary sources, those first-hand accounts that document our history, and that come in many different forms, such as photographs, scrapbooks, letters, programs, newspaper clippings, audio and video recordings, and so on. This is the real stuff of history. These are the items that were part of a different place and time for a specific purpose, and they have survived with a different role to play now, to tell that story in a way that connects us and future generations to the past. These are one-of-a-kind, unique materials, so we do have rules in place to protect them from theft and damage from careless handling. But we want people to know they are available to use and learn from. These materials have the ability to make you laugh, even cry, question, dig deeper, appreciate, and share. It's amazing what one document can do over generations. Special Collections and Archives focuses on a few different collecting areas. We document the history of Wright State University as an institutional archive. We are well known around the world for collections that document the history of aviation and the legacy of the Wright brothers, for which the university is named. If you come to our reading room, you will see an original Wright brothers propeller and a selection of the medals the Wright brothers were awarded in 1909, including the Congressional Gold Medals and French Legion of Honor medals. We have many other aviation collections, including the papers of Frank Whittle and Hans von Neuheim, co-inventors of the jet engine. We have Waco Aircraft Company's photographic collection of almost all the airplanes they sold up in Troy, and Ivanette Wright Miller's papers, the much-loved niece of the Wright brothers, and many, many more, which are listed on our website. We are also one of 6 regional repositories in the Ohio Network of American History Research Centers. As a regional repository in the Ohio network, we collect local government records for our 11-county area. We have many county, township, and municipality records that attract genealogists, and these records include the census, naturalization records, birth, death, and marriage records, and much more. We collect the rich history of the Miami Valley and many other facets too. On our website, we provide subject guides to our local history collections, covering topics such as the 1913 flood, arts, which Inland Children's Course obviously falls under, business and industry, Civil War, family and personal papers, inventors and inventions, local sports, politics, railroad and transportation history, religion and area churches, which themselves have a strong musical component, and World War experiences, just to name a few. Some collections that you may recognize are the Kettering family papers, who have a long legacy in the local area, but also around the world. The Miami Conservancy District records, which document the 1913 flood and the development of flood control in the Miami Valley. Reich's Department Store, historical collection, the famous downtown destination with special memories during all the holidays. Frigidaire Historical Collection, and the records of the retired employees organization called the Tom Club, or Tired Old Men's Club, which still meet monthly with a turnout of 50 or more. The YMCA of Greater Dayton mayoral papers, such as those from Mayor James McGee, the first African-American mayor of Dayton, and other political figures like Congressman Hobson and Congressman and Ambassador Tony Hall. One of the significant subject areas documented in the archives is the arts, which are important to our identity as a community. These collections, as you can imagine from your experience with the chorus, are full of beauty, intrigue, and inspiration. Among the collections are ones that are instantly recognizable, the Dayton Ballet records and the papers of its founder, Ms. Josephine Schwartz. The Inland Children's Chorus has significant ties to some of the collections in the archives. We house the Dayton Philharmonic Orchestra records and the personal papers of the founder and longtime director of the Dayton Philharmonic, Paul Katz, who you see here conducting. Within the Dayton Philharmonic Orchestra collection, you are sure to find programs from the performances with Inland Children's Chorus. As you may already know, some former members of Inland Children's Chorus went on to become professional musicians in the Dayton Philharmonic Orchestra and elsewhere. Maybe some of you in this room. A significant addition to the archives in the past 8 years is the Dayton Daily News Archive, which contains photographs on just about any person, place, or event in the area during the 20th century. The Dayton Daily News Archive alone is over 2,000 linear feet. It contains clippings and photographs. Once a collection is donated to the archives, the archivists get to organize the collection behind the scenes. We preserve them in acid-free folders and boxes like the ones you see here, and write finding aids with box inventories of the contents. Shown here are all the boxes and the materials that make up the Inland Children's Chorus collection after it has been processed. Once the boxes are opened, the treasures are revealed inside. The collection contains concert programs, recordings, publicity, memorabilia, such as a placemat from an outing to La Swordsville, in the center there, bottom, publications like the Inlander, and photographs. Photographs such as this one from Mary Lou Westbrook Dubinsky's donation. I love the sneak peek that Billy Westbrook, third from left, takes at the camera. I'm sure many of you can't see this on the screen, but this is a few pages from inside the December 20th, 1953 Inland Children's Chorus program, listing the chorus members by part and then alphabetically. I recognize several who have donated to this collection. After the collection is processed, a description of the collection with its finding aid, containing a full box and folder inventory, is posted to our website. A catalog record, which is what you see here, is created for the collection to make it more discoverable. This record is searchable in our library catalog, but is now also going to be available in a worldwide catalog known as WorldCat, also known as OCLC. This is a screenshot of the archives website, and also our website is linked from inlandchorus.com. And down in the bottom center, there's a search area where you can put Inland Chorus and it would come up with a finding aid. But it also has information on how to visit, contact information, and a reference form if you have questions. The collections in the archives truly are historic treasures, and we want others to discover them as well. To that end, the archives encourages and promotes the use of the collections for teaching, learning, and research. We give tours and presentations on the collections. We talk to school classes about archives and how to use them. We also work with professors on campus to incorporate the collections into assignments. In the library, we do exhibits featuring the collections to raise awareness of what is available and provide an educational experience for the visitors. We have already done an exhibit on Inland Children's Chorus and plan to do a larger one in the future. It is evident from the collection and in talking with all of you that dedication, time, and talents that were poured in the chorus lives in the hearts of those who were a part of it and those who experienced it. The collection will continue to reach and inspire. The legacy of Inland Children's Chorus and its important role in shaping our identity as a community during those years, as well as the identities of its members, is documented and preserved in the archives for future generations. And it is easily accessed digitally on the inlandchorus.com website. Thank you again, Jerry and Janice, for taking the time to reach out to former members of Inland Children's Chorus and collect the history you all have saved over the years, for building the website where anyone can experience the music performances, photographs, publicity, and memorabilia, and for placing the originals with Wright State where they will be preserved and made available. It is phenomenal. The history of Inland Children's Chorus was saved by the hands of its youthful members, through adulthood, in some cases, spread across the United States, and now over 40 years after the chorus is dissolved, it is brought together through the efforts of former members. And we are able to gather here today and celebrate the legacy of the chorus. I want to end by extending a warm invitation to you, your family and friends, to visit the archives and see the Inland Children's Chorus materials. We are located off from Colonel Glenn Highway on the Wright State campus. And the Paul Lawrence Dunbar Library is next to the Creative Arts Center for those familiar with the fantastic plays and concerts performed there. Our spring semester is ending this week, so we will be on summer hours next following week. And we are open Monday through Friday from 8:30 in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. Summer is a great time to visit because it's a little less crowded and easier to park. You are always welcome to call or check our website for hours, directions, and parking. I have a stack of brochures that Jerry handed out with our contact information and the website listed. My hope is that all of you will come out and see the original materials you have brought together telling the story of the chorus. And while you are there, perhaps you would like to stay and look at some related collections as well. You might be surprised just how much you have in common with the collections and records available in the archives. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this great day.
Thanks again, Tony, for coming and spending your time. I'm going to pass on, since everybody talked about their stories, one short story that is sort of embarrassing for me, but I'll go ahead and tell it. It was during the 1953 St. Nicholas concert when the guest conductor was Hugh Ross, at the time probably the world's leading choral conductor. And we were all in the dress rehearsal. And I remember we were up on the massive stage and so forth, and there was a break in the sort of the rehearsal, and Hugh Ross was conferring with the accompanist and the conductor of the orchestra and so forth. And I thought it was a nice break, so I started talking to the guy next to me. You know, now why I would talk to somebody next to me, I know you can't imagine that, but that's right there, you can't imagine me talking to my colleague. Anyway, Hugh Ross was a very, I should say, quiet and dignified British man, very tall. And I was talking and I didn't notice that he had pulled back and he was ready to continue the rehearsal. And so he looked over at me, and he had a very good ear, and he looked right at me, and he said, "If you'll stop talking, we'll continue with this rehearsal." At which point my legs practically melted under me. I thought I had let down the entire world, the planet, you know. Mr. Westbrook, Hugh Ross, but Mary Lou suggested that I should keep this story because I was dressed down by the world's leading choral conductor, but I'm not sure it still, after all these years, makes me feel that much better.